Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Innovation Insights. I'm here today with Sydney Robinson, and she is the founder and CEO of Vessel Prosthetics. And basically, what we do is we try to have a very casual conversation talking about innovation, how we're pushing it forward, what kind of obstacles we're meeting, and how we can help others bring their innovations to market. So, Sydney, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Jay. I'm really excited to be here.
Why don't you give us a quick 30-second elevator pitch on who you are, what you're doing, and why?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Sydney. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Vessel Prosthetics. We're a startup company out of London, Ontario in Canada. And our mission is to help people with leg amputations lead healthier, more comfortable lives. It was a problem that my co-founder and I discovered during a fellowship program that we were doing here in Canada, where we got to meet a lot of people that have leg amputations and struggle with how their leg changes size throughout the day inside of a prosthetic leg that never changes size. And so we've created a product that enables the prosthetic leg to actually dynamically adapt as that anatomical leg is changing. So you have a socket, a prosthetic leg that fits appropriately and comfortably throughout the day, even as the leg is changing.
Well, that's awesome. So I see a major win here for the amputees, obviously, because this is something that a lot of us don't think about, obviously, unless we're in that situation. And one of the things that investors look at, and me as Red Tail Capital, is how acute is the problem you're trying to solve? You know, if it's just something that's going to make life easier, well, that's not a needle mover for me. But if it's something like what you're talking about, where this could change some, could you give us some examples on how you think the impact will be?
Yeah, I'd love to. Exactly as you said, I think you need to have several different avenues of impact, so to speak. And so for us, our device, because you have a prosthetic leg now that is automatically adapting, that fits properly, you're keeping people moving. So there's a whole subsect of individuals that could use a prosthetic leg, but they stop using it because of how uncomfortable it is. Imagine the blisters you get when you wear shoes that don't fit, but instead of a shoe, it's your leg.
Wow.
And this is people's method for ambulation. This is how people are moving through the world and through their own lives, and they're not able to. So, we've heard stories from amputees that they just don't want to have to constantly be tuning in and readjusting their prosthetic leg over and over throughout the day. So this takes the mental burden off. This encourages people to stay active. The vast majority of people that get a leg amputation have diabetes. And so it's because their health has been deteriorating. And now they are missing part of their leg, and people are telling them, make sure you make healthy decisions, make sure you're moving, make sure you're active. And they're like, how am I supposed to do that if I don't have a leg that fits me properly? So it's things like that. And then with all of the unrest that's happening worldwide right now, my co-founder is Ukrainian. We're really excited for the day that we can help folks that are impacted by traumatic amputations in war-torn countries.
Now, unfortunately, it's a problem that's not going to be going away.
No, not
So
anytime soon.
I really appreciate what you're doing. So we talk about innovation, and sometimes it can feel like a nebulous word. What does innovation mean to you?
Innovation to me means looking at a problem and coming at it from a creative lens that allows you to solve the problem, not just for the most obvious person that it's impacting, but the people around them. So what I mean by that is we had to play within the confines of the prosthetic industry. So we didn't make something that we're selling direct to patients because patients rely on insurance and insurance goes through their clinician, their prosthetist. We're going to make something that doesn't get reimbursed through insurance. So we had to play within those types of parameters. So get very creative when you have limitations put on you.
Yeah.
But we've also designed something that while it impacts amputees, as we've spoken about, it also impacts prosthetists. So looking at the problem and saying, okay, why is this a problem for the amputee? And what are the ramifications to their care provider? So for prosthetists, it is a fee for device market. You're only reimbursed or paid per device. So if I have to see you 19 times a year, well, I'm not paid every single time you come in. And so my profit margin is going down and my ability to keep the lights on and help others is decreasing. And so if we can empower the amputees to be comfortable in their socket and not need as many follow-up appointments, that actually has a positive impact on prosthetic clinicians as well. And then, of course, increased quality of life is something that every clinician wants for their patient. So there's a lot of different factors that go into it. But for me, that's what innovation means, is creatively coming up with a solution for all of the stakeholders involved.
Nice. What are, you know, we all experience as innovators and entrepreneurs, we all experience very similar problems, finding money, getting through regulatory. Tell me about some of the friction issues that you face that aren't, say, normal. Something that's been a little different for you that you never saw coming, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, how do we get around this obstacle?
Yeah, it's very good question, Jay. I'm going to start with the things that didn't create friction for us. So for us, regulatory pathway is something that's very common, and we're a class 1 medical device. So that really reduces the regulatory burden, which is an advantage. Reimbursement is also often a barrier, and there's actually reimbursement codes specifically for devices like ours. So it was really nice. Check those off the list. We're good to go. One thing I've been reflecting on recently has been how you get patient feedback early in a physical device. When you have an app, you can roll it out to people. This is what I think. I've never built an app, but you can roll it out to people. You can have them try it, and you can iteratively prototype really quickly. For us, something that I wish we had focused on earlier is getting an amputee to put our socket on really early and give feedback early on. I think we did a good job of getting it on as early as we were able to. Maybe could have increased that a little bit, done it a little bit earlier, but that feedback from a real person wearing a real device gives you infinitely more knowledge and understanding about where you are and where you need to be compared to the testing you can do, lab bench testing at home. Good question. Hardest lesson for me is slow down to go fast. And I think especially as a CEO, if I can stereotype us for a minute, like type A personalities, go-getters, you've 19 million things on your plate, so you're constantly trying to check off a to-do list and talk to as many people as possible and go, 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 because you're the one that needs to bring that investment in and keep the company alive. So it feels very high stress kind of all the time. That being said, there are instances where if you can force yourself to slow down and make a really thoughtful decision or gather a little bit more data in order to make a thoughtful decision, you can actually avoid the negative outcome that would come from making that decision too quickly. And therefore, you inadvertently actually move quicker. So that's happened a couple of times for us when it comes to product development things or people that we were going to reach out to. I'm like, oh, I'll just send the email right now. But if you slow down and you do some research, maybe you learn that you need to reach out to someone first, or you should get a warm introduction or something along those lines.
Excellent. So, the innovation ecosystem is slowly growing and people are starting to connect more frequently. I'm trying very hard to help make that happen. What do you think we can do to improve the innovation ecosystem so we can all help each other?
That's a very good question as well. I would say there's two things. The one is anytime that you think of somebody, just send a little note. So I try anytime someone is telling me about a venture, I've met someone new and they're telling me about their venture, I always try and think about one connection that I can make. And if you train your brain to think that way, it comes easier and easier. That said, I think there's a lot of responsibility on the person who's asking for introductions. So I've had fellow founders reach out to me while they're fundraising and say, hey, if you know any investors you think could be a good fit, let me know. Well, you've just put the responsibility on me and I have 19,000. I've had other founders come to me and say, hey, I went on your LinkedIn. I saw mutual connections that are investors that you're connected to. I've made a spreadsheet. Here's a blurb that you can copy and paste about my company. I would love an introduction if you're able to make it. Well, I can open up that spreadsheet and I can go check, 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 XX, check, and send those emails super quick. I can get that done in 10 minutes. You just got 9 connections in 10 minutes. No problem. When you can set the other person up for success for making that introduction and expanding your network, that goes a long way.
So, one final thing to ask, what can the innovation ecosystem do for you and Vessel today?
I wish I came better prepared for that one. What can the innovation ecosystem do for us? Honestly, kind of similar to what I just said. If you hear my story and you think of someone, I'm always amazed at how many people know someone living with amputation. So if you know someone who's living with amputation or living with limb loss, or someone who works in the prosthetic industry, and you're able to make that introduction, that really goes a long way. I'm very approachable on LinkedIn and via email. I'm sure we can share contact information after this, but would love those kinds of introductions that will lift, I think, the entire ecosystem up.
Great. Well, we'll throw up a little slide right at the end of this interview that has your contact information so people can reach out to you, your LinkedIn and your email, if that's okay. And beyond that, I just wish you the best of success. I believe in what you're doing, and I can't wait to see your product out in the market and, changing millions of people's lives.
Thank you so much, Jay. I really appreciate your support and the opportunity to be on the podcast today. So thanks so much for having me. And I am also very excited to impact millions of people's lives.
Thanks, Sydney.
Take care.